Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shah. What you're going to see is a reenactment or somehow an idea how the citizenship interview is conducted. So I'm going to comment on it as we go and give you my opinion if this video reflects reality or not. It probably will, but there are few points, tips that we can give you that might be helpful. Enjoy, and I will pause in the middle of it and talk about things. By the way, this is a picture of me so that people know who is talking, because I'm doing only audio. All the video is a courtesy of the USCIS website, uscis.gov, and it is being used for under Fair Use Act for educational purposes. And anything I'm telling you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided.
Series of simulated situations and a description of the process.
So here he's going to point out the requirements to actually file for a citizenship. So watch it. This is very important, and now I'm going to comment on it.
Not all naturalization interviews happen in the same way, but with this video, we want to give a general idea of what you should expect. To become a U.S. citizen, you must meet the following requirements at the time you file Form N-400, the application for naturalization. Must be a lawful permanent resident, be 18 years old, have continuous residence in the United States, have physical presence in the United States, have certain time living within.
This is interesting because if you were less than 18 at the time when your parents applied for citizenship and you were a lawful permanent resident, you might already be a U.S. citizen and you don't know about it. But there are a few conditions that you have to meet, and in this video I'm not going to discuss about that, but it is something that you might want to know.
Before you turned 18 years old, you may have a claim to citizenship.
You can use the USCIS website to get those information, but you can also talk to an attorney to go over this with you for the N-600, because sometimes, as much as they try to make it easy, it's not that easy. So you feel free to reach out to us, 510-742-5887.
The appropriate form to file a claim to U.S. citizenship is Form N-600, Application for Certificate of Citizenship. For more detailed information,
this is very important, because what you are seeing here is basically an informational tool from USCIS, but it is not, they are not lawyers, so they're not supposed to give you legal advice, they're just giving you information. Filling the N-400 is not very difficult, but if you have some kind of background issues, like criminal issues, I will highly recommend you retain an attorney to do this. And again, you can call us 510-742-5887.
keep a copy of the application with your answers. You may find it helpful to review it once you are called for the naturalization interview. After you submit your Form N-400 to USCIS, you will get a receipt notice and receive follow-up appointment notices.
You will usually receive 3 letters. Number 1 will be the receipt, number 2 will be a biometrics fingerprint, and the third letter will be actually the appointment. But you can get a fourth one if they need additional information. It's called request for evidence. So watch out for those documents.
At www.uscis.gov/citizenship test. When you receive a letter in the mail with
those documents that he's going to list are essentials. So you might want to appointment notice. You will have the permanent
An
residence
appointment for your
card and
naturalization
also
interview.
your
The
passport.
letter will include
But
what time your interview
also
is scheduled,
we and the
what
state
time you need to arrive,
identification
the
card, the
address
Real
of the
ID
local
Act. You need the
USCIS
California
office,
one for
and
California,
general
but you can
documentation
bring your
needed for your
passport and
interview.
other things. But
We
another
encourage you
important
to
thing,
arrive
make
to
sure
your
you bring your
appointment
latest
15
tax
minutes early.
documents, and also if you're married, bring your marriage certificate. And there are a few other tips that you can get from us. And if you have a change of name, you need to bring that. And if you have any kind of criminal conviction, you need to bring a what we call a final notice or a court disposition of any criminal charges. Okay, here it is, it mentions that. So I'm just kind of reiterating what he's saying. So please follow the instructions.
You must bring your appointment notice with you to the interview, along with your permanent resident card, all valid and expired passports, and a state-issued identification card, such as a driver's license. There are other documents that you should bring to your interview to avoid any delay in processing your application, including evidence of your current marital status, such as marriage certificate, divorce or annulment decree, or the death certificate of a former spouse. If you've changed your name, bring evidence of the name change, such as a copy of marriage documents or court decree changing your name. If your spouse was previously married, bring evidence that your spouse's prior marriage was terminated. If you have been arrested or detained by the police at any time, bring original or certified copies of court dispositions. And if you are a man
Now we're
between
going to
18
go
and
into the
31 years
interview
old,
itself. This
you
is
need to
the
provide
part which
proof
is the
that you've
most
registered
interesting
with the
one.
Selective Service.
And I think they kind
When
of
you
cover
arrive, you will be
everything
asked to
here,
enter through a
and
security
you
checkpoint.
will see it's,
You must
well,
show
they
your
look very
naturalization
pleasant.
interview notice and
Well,
identification
not always
to
the
the
case
security
when you're
officer,
going there.
and inform the
Unfortunately,
officer that you have a
some officers
naturalization
are a
interview.
little bit more
The
tough than
security
others,
officer or
and
an immigration officer
but
will
most
tell
of
you
them are
where to
nice.
find the customer service
But you
waiting
have to
area.
be pretty much kind of keep your cool and calm no matter how, because remember,
When
they
you
might be
arrive at the
tired
customer
of a
service
whole day of
waiting area,
work,
you will
etc.,
need to
etc.
present
So
your naturalization
make
interview
sure you
notice to the
just
immigration
follow the
officer
instructions,
at the
follow the
customer
officer like
service
they're
desk.
doing right now,
The
and
officer will then
then you
ask you to
move from
wait
there,
until your
and
name is called.
things will be going fine. As you can see in that short documentary or reenactment, you're sitting alone with the officer. But if you had an attorney present with you, the attorney will be sitting next to you. Although it's not necessary, but if you have some kind of criminal charges or a complicated case, I highly recommend you take an attorney with you. No matter how easy they tell you to be, you're dealing with the government, and you always have to be ready for them. So don't think it's all a kind of going to Walmart or some other shop where you're going to get that service. It doesn't work this way. So be careful.
Place you under oath. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please take a seat.
A large part of the naturalization interview involves reviewing the Form N-400 application for naturalization, asking you questions about the information you provided on the application, and reviewing the documents you submitted to support your application. When the officer reviews Form N-400 with you, the officer is also testing your ability to speak and understand the English language, one of the requirements for naturalization. If you do not understand something, you should ask the officer to repeat the question or explain the question using other words. Here is one example of the beginning of a naturalization interview.
What is your name?
Marcos Torres.
And have you used any other names?
No.
Do you want to legally change your name?
No.
I need to see your lawful permanent resident card, all of your passports, and state-issued identification, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is your date of birth?
November 8, 1970.
And where were you born?
San Pedro Sula, Honduras.
Are you a citizen of Honduras?
Yes.
Are either of your parents United States citizens?
No.
Are you currently single, married, divorced, or widowed?
I am single.
And where are you currently living?
3555 North Shore Boulevard in Bloomington.
Where are you working?
I work at the county library.
When was your last trip outside the United States?
Let me see. About 4 months ago, I went back to Honduras to visit family for about 2 weeks.
Do you remember the day you returned to the United States?
The officer will continue to ask you questions from the Form N-400 to verify the information you've provided.
This is where it gets tricky. So if you travel outside the United States for a long time and you didn't have an advance parole, even you had an advance parole and you stayed for more than 6 months, you break the continuity for citizenship. You also might not have enough time to basically cover the time for citizenship. So that's where it is also interesting, if you have been traveling frequently, to have a consultation with a lawyer to assess your case before you move forward. And feel free again to call us 510-742-5887. And never listen to the government saying you don't need a lawyer, because they always say that.
The application was submitted, past marriages, memberships in any organizations, problems with the law, criminal history and/or jail time, military service in the United States, and support of the U.S. Constitution and allegiance to the United States. Your answers to these and the other questions determine your eligibility for naturalization.
Yes, they will ask you to sign a bunch of documents, especially if there are corrections on the bottom. They will put it in red usually and make you sign on it. So be very careful what you sign. I will highly recommend you review it what you're signing. Usually if you're with your attorney, they will pass it to the attorney, they will say counsel, review it, and then you can sign it and you will get the go from your attorney. Just don't sign it if you have your attorney present without the attorney checking. Okay.
Thank you.
Please sign them here and here. I'll need you to sign your application. Please sign here. And then print your name and sign here. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Please review this form. Let me know if it's correct.
Okay. It's correct.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we're going to move to the civics and reading and writing test.
In most cases, after reviewing the Form N-400, the officer will give you the remaining portions of the naturalization test: the U.S. History and Civics test, the English reading test, and the English writing test. In some USCIS offices, the naturalization test may be given before your interview by an Immigration Services officer. The officer may be the same one that performs your naturalization interview, or it may be a different officer. The U.S. History and Civics test has 10 questions. The History and Civics questions will be asked orally and answered orally. You must get 6 out of the 10 questions correct to pass the History and Civics test. Here is an example of an officer giving the U.S. history and civics test to an applicant.
Did you just see what happened?
Are you ready for your
she
civics
asked
test?
to repeat the question. This is the right
Who
way
was
to
the
do
first
that. You can
president?
say, I didn't understand, could you please repeat?
George
But you don't give
Washington.
wrong answers
Correct.
or false answers. If you don't
How many
remember,
US
say, I
senators
don't
are there?
remember. That's better for you.
100.
Good. Where is the Statue of Liberty?
Can you repeat that?
Where is the Statue of Liberty?
In New York.
Correct. What is the capital of the United States?
Washington, D.C.
What is the name of the national anthem?
Star Spangled Banner.
Good. Name one problem that led to the Civil War.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That's okay.
Remember that this is just a sample interview. The questions in this video are not necessarily the ones that you will be asked during the test. At the end of the questions, the immigration officer will inform you if you've passed the history and civics test. Please note that the officer will stop asking you questions once you've answered 6 questions correctly.
When do we celebrate Independence Day?
July 4th.
That's correct. Good, that's 6. You pass that portion.
Now, we will show a simulated situation of the English reading and writing tests being given to the applicant. Keep in mind that the items we're about to show you are not on the actual test. Remember, this is a simulated interview, and each experience may be different. The reading and writing tests each have 3 sentences. You only need to get 1 reading and 1 writing sentence correct to pass.
Now's the reading test. Please read line number 1 out loud for me.
Who was third president of United States?
Good. Now, I need you to write line number 1 for me. Thomas Jefferson was the 3rd president of the United States. Thomas Jefferson was the 3rd president of the United States. Okay, let's try another one. On line number 2, please write, the Liberty Bell is in Philadelphia. The Liberty Bell is in Philadelphia. Good.
After the reading and writing tests,
In this case, the case was recommended for approval. Doesn't mean it's approved yet. It usually goes to a supervisor who will review the case and make the decision.
Thank you.
Sometimes you will have a supervisor doing the interview. They'll give you the answer right away, but most of the time that's what the answer will be. You will be recommended.
You will be sent a
Now,
notice in the
many
mail
people
of
have
what
been
the
waiting
company
after that, so
or
we'll
your oath
talk
ceremony.
about that in another video.
Do you have any
But until
questions at
then,
this point?
seems like this one did it well.
Right, then I will escort you. To the customer service area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
The oath ceremony is the final step in becoming a U.S. citizen. After the approval of Form N-400, you will be scheduled for an oath ceremony to take the oath of allegiance. At the ceremony, your lawful permanent resident card will be taken by USCIS, and you will be given a certificate of naturalization. Some USCIS offices may schedule you to participate in a ceremony on the same day of the interview. After your oath ceremony, you are officially a U.S. citizen and have all the rights and responsibilities that come with this privilege. Naturalized citizens are an important part of our democracy, and USCIS welcomes newly naturalized citizens every day. If you've already applied for naturalization or are considering doing so, we wish you all the best in your journey towards citizenship.